Hello and welcome to DarcySews episode 5, I think. I'm Darcy and I'm here to talk about knitting, sewing, quilting, crafting at large. The last time I chatted, sat down and chatted, I think it was while I was caking up the yarn that I never started the sweater. So hopefully that will be coming soon. But I just kind of chatted about some Christmas projects and then I honestly got none of that done. And I will show you the project that I did work over the holidays on in just a little bit. But I figured since I kind of always start with knitting, I'm going to start with knitting and then we'll get to the project that I was working on, which is quilting. We'll come back to that. But we'll just dive right into knitting. It's been a minute since I've chatted. And I had all these plans to finish things. They were mostly presents. You know, there was the Juris mitts that I was working on for my brother-in-law, Thomas. There was some socks I was working on for my friend Heather. And I was working on a shawl, which I'm still working on. So I'll go ahead and say the two things that I finished, I do not have with me because they were the two presents that I mentioned. I finished my Juris mitts. I will put a picture somewhere on here on the screen. And those are sent off to Boston and they are enjoying the snow now. So yay for that. And then the Curio socks, I finished those shortly after that. I got a little stuck on them because of having to pull out rows. I was really mad that I needed to rip out, and it just needed to sit in timeout for a little bit. And then I made a whole vlog on finishing those. And sometimes it just helps to have a reason to push through and finish it. So I'm glad I did the vlog because it really helped me. And it was super fun to make. I mean, I'm sure it's not the best vlog ever, but I had a great time and that's all that really matters, right? Anyway, the socks are finished. I will insert a picture again somewhere. Anyway, and I gave them to Heather and they fit perfectly and I'm so happy because honestly it was a gamble. I was going on her shoe size. I had nothing else to go on. So those are my two finished projects. It's all I finished because I have not been knitting as much, at least over Christmas. I've been knitting more now, which I love. So now we can move on. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm just gonna hop back really fast. I have a little bit of a cold and I'm a little sniffly, so I apologize. I hope that's not too bothersome. So what am I working on now? My works in progress. Okay, if you watched the vlog, you will know that I got very obsessed with starting casting on the clay sweater. The clay sweater is a sweater by Pope Vergara. I'm going to say that wrong, Vergara. Correct me if I'm wrong because I know I'm wrong. And I'm just going to put the name up here as well so you'll see it. Clay sweater by Pope Vergara. And it is absolutely gorgeous. It is just this beautiful sweater that has these beads all throughout it. Let me see if I can just zoom in on this and just show a picture. And I've made a few changes because I am trying to work solely from my stash right now, at least for the beginning of this year, unless something super calls to me and I need to do it and I need yarn for it. I have so much yarn and I have so many sweaters quantities worth of yarn that I'm trying to really pull from that. And maybe I'll go through that at some point. I can sit by my stash and just kind of talk through what I bought things for and what I'm planning to do with them now, if that plan is different. But anyway, so instead of using all mohair, which this calls for holding mohair double, I decided to do a fingering weight and mohair together, held double together. So it's a similar but thicker looking fabric, but I was able to get gauge with that and I liked the fabric that it produced. So I went ahead and went on with that because that is the yarn that I have and I think it's still really pretty. So let me show you now. This is where we are. I'm sitting on all of this. I'm working on the bodice part. So you can see it still has a little bit of sheerness to it. It's very pretty. And I'm so excited. It's so soft. This is actually not mohair. This is alpaca. This yarn was dyed by my friend Hillary from Garden of Eden Fibers. And it's really pretty. The pink is not. The pink was dyed. I forget what the pink is. I will tag it. I got this from a local yarn shop a few years ago and it has sat in my stash. It's 100% superwash wool. And so I didn't use it for socks because I just was unsure if I wanted 100% wool. I like a little bit of nylon. I think it adds some stability. I have no idea. I've never actually experimented with it. So maybe I should experiment. I'm sure I'll have leftovers. So maybe I will knit some shorties or something. Actually, I'm not sure I'll have leftovers. I might not have leftovers. That's also okay. I can get some 100% wool and test out making socks with that, and maybe like compare and contrast my socks that I wear all the time that have nylon added. Anyway, this is not about socks. This is about this sweater. So I cast this on and I bought the beads, the clay beads from Amazon. And here they are just on the string, ready to be worked into the fabric. I'm on an increase row right now. So I just finished knitting in some beads, and this has just been going honestly pretty fast. Like, I've not been working on it every single minute of the day. Mostly just, I give myself, little 20 minutes here and there. I'm also trying to protect my hands, so not like going too crazy and just like sitting down and knitting like crazy. But for the amount of time that I've actually invested in it, I feel like it's going pretty fast. So I'm hoping to get through in the next week or so, get totally through this upper bodice part and into just the body knitting. So, and this part always takes the longest because you keep increasing and increasing, and then you have so many stitches that it takes forever to get through a round. So this will be the longest part, but I'm really liking these beads. I will show you, where are my beads? They're somewhere down in here. Here we go. I have a little basket that I keep next to the couch full of my knitting notions. So I poured all the beads into a little jar and just mixed them all together. And I have my little, like the dental floss threader. This is what I'm using to string my beads onto the yarn. And I just kind of scoop them up at random. I don't want any particular, I'm not trying to do a pattern. I just want it to be like very scattered and random, which is why I mixed them all together. So I love the way these feel too. Like when you run your hands through rice, it's like that feeling like running your hands through rice. I don't know. It's very satisfying. So, oh, I lost my little dental floss. Where did it go? Oh no. Okay, we'll find that in just a minute because I'm gonna need that. I feel like it got stuck in my hair, but I don't feel it in my hair. So, okay, we'll come back to that. Anyway, I had recently realized my mother-in-law passed down a yarn bowl to me, and I've never used a yarn bowl before, but when I was caking up the alpaca, I needed it to be like really light and fluffy, and I didn't want to pull from the center because it's super sticky. So I'm using a yarn bowl for the first time. I just have it sitting on the edge of the couch. I have like a chase lounge here at the edge of this couch, and I have it on the end of the chase, and it's kind of really fun. I'm really enjoying it. That is all that I have about the clay sweater. It's coming right along. I'm enjoying the process. I'm very excited for the finished product. I think it's going to be super warm, like living in Georgia, probably outerwear warm, but that's fine. We'll use it for whatever we use it for, and I will love it. The other thing that I'm still currently working on, it's back here, is the Free Your Fade shawl, and I honestly haven't gotten any further. I'll pull this out really fast out of its little bag. I got this bag when I was at SAF this year, and I love it. I actually got it for my daughter, but she's not using it, so I stole it back. Okay, let's see here. So here we are. This is where we are with the Free Your Fade. So I started down here with this like the darkest brown color, and it's been fading through to these like reds, and now I'm in these greens, and I'm moving into like gold. So that should be coming soon. I just haven't been working on it much. I'm assuming that it's one of those things where like when I want something super mindless, I pick it up, but this is also fairly mindless. This is just stockinette, and every 4 rows you just add beads. So it's not a particularly challenging knit either. So anyway, it hasn't gotten as much work. I'm hoping, how many more do I have? What ball am I on? I'm on ball 6, and there's 13. So I have 7 left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Correct. Yes. So I wonder if I'll make it all the way through them. How many rows do I have of eyelets? I'll have to count that later. I'm not sure how much more I have to go. And it is getting to a point where like a ball is making it less and less. Like obviously this first part, this like dark color lasted through many of the eyelets before I switched. Where was my first? Oh, here's my first edition is right here. So I added in my first color there. So it made it through, a lot because it's really thin. And then it started, there's my second edition, and then they're starting to get closer and closer because the rows are getting longer. So I'm assuming that here soon, even though I have 7 balls left, that will go faster than the first 6 balls. So I'm just gonna shove this all back into its bag and we will move on. Okay, the very last thing that I have been working on lately, I'm still bagging that done. Okay, I cast on another pair of socks. I like to always have socks with me because they're like my take out and about project. If we're going to the playground, if we're gonna go sit out in the town green in downtown, if we're going on a little walk, I'll take them with me. You know, I just like to have them, car rides, I don't know. So I cast on another pair of DRK everyday socks. This is another Dre Renee knits pattern. I'm sure maybe you noticed. She's a favorite here at my house. And actually, this Friday, I am going out of town and I'll be taking probably just this. I don't think I'll take the clay sweater with me because it's just a lot to like kind of carry with the beads and everything. Just making sure I have all the notions and the right things. I'll probably just take these. But I'm going to Black Mountain to meet Andrea Mowry. I got tickets to the meet and greet on Friday, so that's super exciting. And then that's it. I tried to get tickets into the brioche class too, but they sold out so fast. So maybe next time. But I'm gonna get to go to North Carolina. My father-in-law lives there and we'll stay with him. And then I'll get to go to do that on Friday. And then we'll just have like a nice relaxing weekend in North Carolina. So I'll take these with me. This is a pair for my husband. I got this yarn while I was in England with my friend Ellie when she lived in England. And I think it's really nice. It's a self-striping. This is how it's turning out so far. I can't tell exactly if it's, I think we're in a bit of a transition where it's transitioning from the orange to the blue. So there's like little bits of blue stripes in it, but then I think it'll get like just more solidly blue here soon. But I don't know because, well, I guess I could look at the picture. This is a opal yarn. There we are. What does it say? Black Dragon 2 Fantasy Island. There it is. And on the back here, it has like the little picture of what the socks will look like. So yeah, you have like the little transition in between times and then it'll get more blue. So I'm excited to see that happen. I'm making just one sock right now and then I'm gonna make the second and I'm not gonna worry about making them match exactly. So most of the time I do try to start them so they match exactly, but this time I chose not to. All right, and I think that is all. Let me see. I'm checking my notes really fast. That is all that I currently am working on. And now we are gonna move directly into quilting. And for my quilting, I still have a work in progress, but this is the project that I spent most of Christmas break on. So rather than knitting, I had all these plans to finish all these knitting. And then, I don't know, this quilt top was just sitting there and it called to me and it wanted to be quilted. So for reference, I am talking about the enigmatic quilt from Toad and Sew. It was part of her mystery quilt along. She has a whole website, which I have linked down below, and it is called the Toad Circle. You can subscribe there. You can do a single pattern. I'm not sure if you are a subscriber to like the full plan, if you get the like backlog of other patterns that you've done, but she has a new mystery quilt along that's coming up soon. I'm in her testing group and it's so fun to get to like see kind of how the behind the scenes work. So I actually could figure out more of this information for you. She was talking about how, let me just check and see if I can figure out mystery quilt along general. Okay, so it looks like you can like pay for one, just for like one quilt along. You just want to do one quilt along with her that's a mystery. And then there's also other like plans where you are a paid subscriber and it looks like you would get access to the library of mystery quilt patterns. So that is good to know in case you were interested. She is a phenomenal designer, Taylor is, and her, when I tested the mystery aspect of this quilt, of the enigmatic quilt, and she had a guide on how to pick colors. So what she had me do was pick the colors without knowing what the quilt was, the way that everybody else was going to make sure that the color guide worked. And it was so very good. I mean, it was basically a class, so like a condensed class about color and color theory. And it was, I mean, honestly phenomenal. So I'm assuming that all of these will be the same. She will give you kind of a breakdown on how to pick the colors, kind of what you're looking for as far as contrast and value. And is worth every single penny. So anyway, all that is to say, I'm now a Toad and Sew tester for Taylor. Love her, love Toad and Sew patterns. I've also linked that down below, and I'm doing some of her mystery pattern testing as well, which is the Toad Circle. So there are two different websites, both are linked. You can go browse to your heart's desire. But now we'll come back to the enigmatic quilt. So I tested that, and then I knew that I was going to want to do the McTavish quilting on it. When I first started working at String and Story, I saw Holly Ann do a McTavish on one of the first quilts she quilted in the shop. And I was like immediately just obsessed with the way that it looks. It almost has a flowery effect on the quilt. It has like that like toothpaste swoop, as she calls it, but it was such a beautiful design. So I went through and watched. I am part of the String and Story Free Motion Quilting Academy, and I went through and watched that section on how to do McTavishing. And I spent like all of Christmas Eve doodling. So let me show you my doodles really fast, because this is where she always has you start. So I doodled my first doodle, and what I found was through this, I didn't like how I was doing these like points there. So that's where we got to our second doodle, and I was doing that again. I noticed, I forget why I switched. I think that was just a practice. So I did this section and I started to look at that like, ooh, I don't like those points. They kind of just look bumpy. You'll see another one over there. And so I started doing a thing where I would like run up the other line and swoop around, and I thought that looked a lot smoother. So then I did a third drawing where I put that into practice within here, and I liked it much better. So then after I was comfortable with the doodling version of this, I took it to my sewing machine and I did a fat quarter sample. I guess this might be a fat, I don't know. This was just a scrap sample basically. So I had a little bit of sample batting, a little bit of fabric. And I tested out to make sure that I liked it. I laid this on top of the quilt so that I could see how I felt about the whole thing. Like, how does this pattern look next to this quilt? Do I think it's gonna look good? And then I decided that I just wanted to do it. So I dove right in, as one does. Let me pull up this quilt. My dog is trying to lay on this right now, so it's a little, Jane. Okay, I bought some art gallery fabric for the backing. It is this beautiful floral design. And then I'm just gonna open this up. I'm trying to find the opening. It's actually a very big quilt, Jane. You can't sit on here yet. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna just cover my face. Whew, okay, let's see if we can get this up and over so we can show a little bit and talk about it. But I decided this time to do pen basting. Now, in the past, I've like always done spray basting, and this is my first time pen basting. I lied, this is my second time pen basting. I have a quilt and I will pull it out and have a quilt story here soon, but I pen basted my very first quilt, and I didn't finish that quilt because I was not yet a quilter and I didn't know what I was doing. So it's still sitting next to my sewing machine. I started it years ago while I was still like deep in the trenches of garment sewing. So anyway, this experience with pen basting has gone so much better. Every time that I have done spray basting, I end up getting some amount of folds in the back, and I just, no matter how I do it, no matter if I stretch the backing, if I don't stretch the backing, whatever the method, I'm getting folds, and it was driving me crazy. So I decided to give pen basting another try. And so far I have no folds. I mean, I'm not done yet, so I can't say that that's how it's gonna end, but not a single fold. I'm able to like very much control where the fabric is going and how I'm spreading it out. I started from the center of the pattern, started at the center of the quilt, somewhere around here, I think this is where I started. And then I worked my way out. Just for, you know, I'd work out one side and then I would stop when I either broke thread or ran out of bobbin thread, and I would go back the other way. I think I've used up 2 bobbins so far. I'm trying to do this a little bit bigger. Last time I quilted spirals everywhere and I did them so dense. So I'm trying to do a little bit less dense. I'm not sure if I'm successful, we'll see. But it's working out really well, and I'm not sure how well you can see, I know you can see texture on here. I'm not sure how well you can see the actual design of the McTavish. It's really fun. It's fun to do, and I think it gives it this kind of like flowy, flowery look that is really nice, because this is otherwise a pretty like geometric graphic quilt. So I think it balances it well. Okay, hopefully you can see that. So I have linked the String and Story Free Motion Quilting Academy down below as well. So if that's something that interests you, it's down there. It is not open right now, and I forget exactly when it opens. I'll ask Holly Ann. I don't work in the shop anymore, but I sew samples for her still. So it's so much fun. The class is amazing. She's a great teacher. Highly recommend. Okay, let me see here. I think that is all we have today. It's a light day. I don't have too much to talk about because I'm trying really hard to balance doing less projects at a time and like seeing things through to completion before moving on to next things. I know that's not everybody's method, but that's what really works for me as a person. I find that if I try to do too much at one time, I get scattered and nothing gets finished. So I'm going to be better about starting and finishing entire projects because that's what I need to do for my brain. So let me know what you do. Are you a multi-project person? Are you a one project at a time person? What works for you? Anyway, I hope you all have a lovely day, whatever day you're watching this, and I will chat with you guys soon. Bye.